It's not that we can't decorate, it's just that we really don't think about it. And they say women tend to have a better eye for this stuff. And to be honest, they usually do. And on top of that, there is this trend on social media right now, which is of course really funny. But come on, we just don't care. Let's try and fix that together so our girlfriends won't make fun of us when they come over. Here I have a list of principles that we can go over together, and we're gonna start with this style. Before you start decorating the interior, you need to pick a style, a vibe that is present throughout the entire place. Something that actually represents your personality. Let's say you got modern minimal furniture. You can just put a classic carved wooden table right beside it. It's gonna look weird. So here are some styles that you can pick in order of how masculine they are. Starting with the man cave. This one is perfect if you have a big beard and you smoke cigars and you drink whiskey. The core signatures of this style are big leather chairs, like let's say Chesterfields, warm lights and deep saturated colors, high quality materials like metal and wood, with an emphasis on drinking and entertainment. You can put a pool table there, or maybe a big wooden bar, or a sound system with big wooden speakers. Second place on the list, we got industrial design. And this one is my own favorite. Industrial design started back in the Industrial Revolution, when factories were built with exposed bricks and steel beams and huge windows, all purely for function. Then in the 1960s, artists started moving into big abandoned factories because they were cheap, mostly in cities like New York or London. And instead of covering up the raw materials, they actually embraced them. They left the bricks exposed and kept the concrete floors. That look became a trend, and now it's a full-blown interior style. The signatures are, of course, raw exposed materials, neutral and muted color palettes, sturdy and utilitarian furniture, open layouts and double height ceilings, statement lighting and vintage accents. Next one on the list is minimalist design. This one is the easiest and the safest choice because it's budget friendly, it's timeless, and it works with almost any space. And you don't have to spend too much time on it. The only problem is that it has no character. But first we have to understand the difference between basic and minimal. This, for example, is basic and this is minimal. You see the difference here? Minimalist is a design choice. It means you've intentionally stripped things down to the essentials. It's a specific aesthetic with neutral colors and empty spaces, clean lines, and very few objects. It's about less is more as a conscious decision. Basic is just basic, no thoughts required. Just a couch, a table, and a TV. It's functional but not designed. And it's actually very easy to transition from basic to minimal. When it comes to the furniture, it's all about basic geometry shapes, like a boxy sofa or a rectangular table. They usually sit low to the floor, like platform beds or those sofas. It creates a grounded, calm feeling that makes the space feel more open. No paneling, no grooves, just a seamless, smooth surface, whether it's wood, metal, or glass. The second principle is color palette. Let's say you don't want to go with a specific style, then setting a color palette is the best way to make the space feel more intentionally designed. The color palette itself, of course, depends on your taste in color, or you can just scroll Pinterest and see which one you like. There are a few rules when it comes to color palettes. The standard guideline for interior color palettes is the 60-30-10 rule. This rule divides the color palette into 3 parts, based on how much space each color should occupy in the room. The 60% is the dominant color. This is your main color to set the overall mood of the space, and is usually applied to the largest surfaces, like the walls. The 30% is the secondary color. This color supports the dominant hue, and it adds depth and contrast. It's usually applied to the furnitures or the curtains or the rods or maybe the accent wall. The last 10% is the accent color. This one is bolder and more saturated. And this is where you can have a little bit of fun. The point of the accent color is to create a focal point. And it's usually applied to the smaller objects like the pillows or the artwork or the lamps or maybe the decorative objects in general. Once you got the color palette, you should stick with it. Every object you bring in should fit within that palette. Next principle is lighting. And this is actually the most important one. This one can make or break the space basically. Like, let's say you got everything right and you have the most beautiful furniture and you pick the style, you got amazing decorative objects. If you get the lighting wrong, it's gonna look like We have 3 layers of lighting: ambient, task, and accent. Ambient or general lighting is the overall illumination that fills the room. Like if you hang a light bulb at the center, which you definitely should not do. I usually suggest indirect lighting whenever it's possible, even for the ambient lighting. And it's a really good idea to add a dimmer switch as well. You can install a few recessed spotlights in a grid pattern on the ceiling. This way the light will bounce off of the furniture and the floor and will fill the room. It's always a good idea to use a few small lights instead of one big light. But if you want to use the big light anyways, make sure that it's diffused and dimmable and the light temperature is nice and warm. You can also angle a few spotlights at the ceiling. The bounce gives you a softer, more natural light. And for general lighting, 3000 Kelvin is basically the sweet spot. If you don't know what Kelvin is, it's the measuring unit for how cool or warm a light is. We have 2700, 3000, 3500, 4000, and 5000 Kelvin. You can of course go lower or higher, it's just not practical. The higher the number, the cooler the light, the lower the number, the warmer the light. Task lighting is exactly what it sounds like. It's the light for the tasks you do, like a desk lamp or the vanity lights around the mirror, or a floor lamp beside a chair for reading. For the task lights, the sweet spot is 4000 Kelvin because it's not too cool and not too warm. And accent lights are purely for decoration and they serve no other purpose. You can go with whatever shape you want, whatever color you like. Just make sure that the shape matches the style and the color is within the palette. Mid-century modern, minimal, gothic, industrial. What really matters is having all 3 layers, ambient, task, and accent, working together in the same space. For a space you want to be comfortable in, like the bedroom, you want to go with a warmer light, like let's say 2700 Kelvin. And the cooler lights go in spaces where you're actually doing stuff, like kitchen or the office. The next principle is the accents and the details. Not everything in the space should be functional. We can add objects that are purely for aesthetics and serve no other purpose. You can put a blanket on the sofa, or maybe books and magazines on the coffee table, or maybe a plant in an empty space, a painting on an empty wall. And when it comes to wall art, I suggest hanging one huge painting or print at the center of the wall. And of course, you need to make sure that the colors in the art matches your color palette. Don't overthink it with size guides and stuff, because it's never going to look perfect. Just make sure to choose a print that actually matches the style that you take. If you pick industrial, for example, you can literally hang a print of rusted metal on the wall and it's gonna look cool.